Fantastic. So I'm going to be presenting for the next half hour or so on Runecast and how we can help you slay the dragon and eliminate operational risk and compliance or security risk in your VMware environments and beyond. This is a picture of me on top of a mountain. To be honest, I've been to a lot of VMUGs before. This is the first time I've presented. I always shied away from presenting because quite clearly these are community-driven events, and you'll see the two starred out words here is sales director, but I promise I'm not going to pitch. And we've got Steve at the back of the room, who's our solutions engineer, who has been given the mandate to throw things at me if I do. So, yeah, no worries. But a little bit about myself. So focused on customer enablement, growth, and evangelizing the value of Runecast, which in human speak means trying to win more customers for Runecast. Worked in technology for 10 years now. I graduated with a degree in politics. It was a very natural transition to selling software at Softcat many years ago. Have a dog. Her name is Windy, but her Sunday name is Windermere. She's a very posh girl, and she pulls me up mountains. And a very recent development, clearly, is that I like to go to the gym a lot and love wild camping. What I'm going to focus on today is the history of Runecast, where the technology came from, why the technology was created in the first place, and how it's evolved and can add value today. The platform started off as very much a fantastic tool for a limited number of VMware administrators who were just doing VMware all day, every day. Nowadays, the people who just focus on VMware all day, every day are dwindling, of course, because environments and technology is evolving. And Runecast has grown out to touch on other technologies. So before we kick off, who's heard of us before? Has anyone come across Runecast? Oh, good amount of people. That's good. Someone's doing the job right. And yeah, I'm going to go through some architecture diagrams as well. There's at least one architectural diagram in here, which I'm quite impressed with myself by. Fundamentally, it's an AI-powered platform, and we've been an AI-powered platform since 2015, so before it was cool. Basically, it's a knowledge parser and a knowledge automation tool which sits between a given configuration and external knowledge sources, whether that's KB articles, nowadays compliance standards, or vulnerabilities. Our founders are engineers. They were working for IBM and founded the VMware Center of Excellence in EMEA for IBM back in the early 2010s. They had a massive outage and several outages because not only were they managing IBM's internal environments, they were also looking after managed service platforms and a lot of different customers. During the course of one specific outage, they realized that they were just checking and hardening against issues which had already been documented. So checking KBs, undertaking root cause analysis to compare that to what was present in the host, and then trying to extrapolate that across thousands or hundreds and hundreds of customers. And they realized it was just manual, repetitive work, which really should be automated. 90% of all known issues in VMware have already been documented somewhere, whether it's in a KB article most of the time, or alternatively in a blog post or a white paper. But there was nothing which existed to proactively apply this existing knowledge and use it to mitigate the risk of outage or availability risk in critical environments. And that's where Runecast came along. I don't want to show these guys' age up too much, but we're talking probably over a century of experience, not of direct VMware experience. So initially, it was very, very simple. Runecast Analyzer, we call this little bit of technology in the middle Riker. Runecast AI knowledge automation. So tech, which sits between a given configuration and the VMware knowledge base, continually hardens. As you can see, we had a fantastic UI in 2017, but I don't think we're the only ones guilty of that. I'll show throughout the presentation how we've kept this. This is really the beauty, this patented rules engine. We've kept this central tenet of Runecast and built it out to become a lot more usable. Initially, I mean, it was enough. We were launched at VMworld San Francisco in 2015, and just this tool alone, KB article compared to internal configs, was enough for us to start winning decent customers, to be commended by VMware, to become a VMware Technology Alliance partner, which of course is a status we've retained. But fundamentally, we were only addressing this portion of the pie. So people, great, I can compare knowledge base articles to vSphere and vSAN. That was initially what we supported. But even within VMware ecosystem, we weren't covering anywhere near what people were facing and the challenges that people were facing day to day. So in 2018, we released support for NSX-V initially. We now support NSX-T in the full NSX suite. 2018 Horizon as well. Cover VMC and AWS. Azure VMware solution. So VMC and AWS has been our most successful cloud offering as of yet. We recently released support for Google Cloud VMware Engine. And in 2022, as part of our general release of support for all flavors of Kubernetes, we released support for Tanzu. And we're beginning to see several of our customers, as they move to Tanzu, they're taking Runecast with them, primarily to enforce security policies on containers. So the evolution of Runecast is fairly simple. From a Swiss Army knife, I mean, a Swiss Army knife is quite useful. If you're stuck on top of a mountain, it's good to have a Swiss Army knife. But fundamentally, you'd probably rather have this crazy contraption that we had in 2021. But still, there were limitations because we saw that customers were moving to hybrid workflows, adopting containerization. We had even server teams who were looking after on-prem VMware systems were still having to manage the VMs themselves, who were having to manage Linux and Windows operating systems. We weren't doing much around security and compliance. And yes, InfoSec is typically a different team, but sure, some people will agree that they can be an annoying team. And there's a lot of persistent silos between InfoSec and infrastructure teams. We weren't really offering any value around that. So we decided that even 2021 wasn't a good enough state for us. If anyone knows the film Crocodile Dundee, these days I guess it's a bad analogy here because we've gone from being a very high-tech Swiss Army knife to being a machete, which is a lot more brief, a lot more blunt. However, you get the point. This is Runecast today. Again, we've got the patented AI-assisted knowledge parser. We're just taking the fundamentals of that technology, that rules engine, which is proactively analyzing external data sources, hardening particular technologies against it, and we've extended massively both what we ingest into that rules engine. So we now cover security hardening guidelines. So Cyber Essentials is probably, well, it is relevant to most people. We also cover ISO 27001, NIST, DISA STIG, because of a lot of our work in the US government and military sector, GDPR, and the ability to build custom profiles as well. We're also alerting around known exploited vulnerabilities, best practices, still the fundamental support for knowledge-based articles, and we've also, well, we added a couple of years ago, vSphere upgrade simulation, which is a relatively hot topic at the moment with the vSphere 8 continuing to evolve. From a technology standpoint, so as well as VMware, which is still very much our core offering, we have support for native AWS, Azure, GCP, Windows and Linux, and many flavors of Kubernetes. And this is what we tried to do and what we are doing is becoming a lot more enterprise ready. So we've got the ability to turn compliance from just something which is a temporary state, a snapshot of compliance because you know the auditors are coming in and everything gets dropped and you just scramble to fix things, into a continuous state where you know not just I'm compliant today, but you can also see how compliance has trended over time against a given standard. Vulnerability assessment, so continuous visibility vulnerabilities, visibility, terrible sentence, and identification of KEVs, container security, and still that strength for IT operations. So this is generally how things are and some of the challenges of siloed monitoring tools. So one tool for monitoring cloud systems, another tool for monitoring vulnerabilities. lack of communication between different parts of an organization who really should be singing on the same hymn sheet. And this is the problem that we just saw getting worse and worse. As new technologies came about, as teams started spinning up containers, as central governance was maybe lost to an extent, there was more silos, and Ringcast is that single source of truth, which can be used both by operations teams, but also within the same platform by security and infosec teams. So it's usable on a day-to-day basis, and also for reporting. So we have integrations with ServiceNow, and most of the reporting tools have got an open API. So if you need to prove compatibility with a particular standard, we can just send out reports very automatically. And yeah, here is a GIF. I mean, most of you have heard of Ringcast, but I thought it would be good to do a quick overview of who some of our clients are and some of our success stories. And I told you there would be an architectural diagram. So we're used by a lot of organizations who have to run air-gapped environments. So a lot of military organizations, central government organizations. For obvious reasons, I can't mention them by name, otherwise I might be disappeared. But most customers are absolutely fine with online updates. So we update the rules engine, we update the central repository, and yeah, everything's okay. Even then, we don't collect any telemetry data. The data flow is one directional from our knowledge pass and rules repository to the appliance, which sits on premises. However, the reason we're so attractive for those running air-gapped environments, either across the organization or for banks, for example, who have a subset which is PCI DSS compliant, is offline updates where we can send the update either to a sandbox or to an admin who can kick and punch it around. We have a very extreme example of that, which is somewhere in the North Atlantic. There is a submarine at the moment with some servers running vSphere, and they have Ringcast on those servers as well. Their update mechanism is when the submarine docks in the port, there's a physical disk which is being vetted and verified, and then updates the rules engine. So it's not quite air-gapped, it's water-gapped. There's a little joke for you there. However, it shows that even in such extreme circumstances and such secure circumstances, there is still room for the platform. And, I mean, this is a sales slide, isn't it? Let's go through it quickly. Fundamentally, the key benefit is time saving, usually. Our clients typically report around a 75 to 90% reduction in time spent troubleshooting. That's largely from a combination of lack of time or not having to spend as much time on root cause analysis. So there's been a failure on this host. Why? Oh, Ringcast has told me why. But to be honest, that's not really the value of it. The value is more ending that break-fix cycle. So rather than there is a failure on this host, why? Oh, Ringcast has alerted me that there is going to be a failure on this host because this misconfiguration is likely to cause PSOD. Let's go and fix it. So really enabling more predictability in management of systems. Up to 100% service uptime. Wonderful. You put that there. But it's generally increased operational efficiency and observability. But the key value today is building that bridge between different parts of an organization. So between information security and infrastructure teams, allowing infrastructure teams, I suppose that the whole shift left approach toward DevSecOps, allowing teams to manage their own compliance requirements, to be on top of vulnerabilities, and to have a holistic view, not just of operational risk, but also of compliance. I worked for Ringcast 2.5 years ago, and I left and then came back about a month ago. I went to work in data and analytics for a while. It was all Python queries and it was confusing. The reason I came back is precisely because of the development of the product and some of the features that we'll touch on. But I was a bit confused for maybe my first 2 weeks because I left a company that was an IT operations company. It was all about how can we save time? How can we make VMware administration more effective? Why would you use Ringcast rather than Skyline? Blah, 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 blah. And then I came back and all of a sudden I was being told that, oh, we're now a security company. We do security and you should go speak to CISOs. And okay, fine. I was a bit flustered. But then I thought about it a bit more, and it's actually something the guys at Extrovert realized 2 years ago, is there's a unifying message, which is risk. So we're not a security platform, we're not an ITOM platform, we're a risk mitigation platform, helping you to harden against the risk both of outage, of poor performance, of availability, but also against the risk of failed audits with the financial penalties of that, of ransomware attacks and general kind of poor security. So it's a risk mitigation platform. A few cases. So Principal are massive. They're a health insurance company primarily in the US, about 25,000 employees, and far too much revenue for a healthcare company. But I suppose that's the nature of the American healthcare. They use us primarily for NIST compliance across their large VMware estate. Historically, it was lots of spreadsheets. As you'd expect, it would come to NIST audit, and they would, yes, this configuration is correct. Yes, the password policy is right on this host. With the Runcast, they completely automate it, and they pay us quite a lot of money because of the time saving, because they're so huge. Having a tool that can just completely automate and not only automate the compliance reporting, but also automate remediation as well. So I can show how we have some auto remediation capabilities very shortly. Near East Bank. This is interesting because it's how you, in order to, I've got a link back. In order to slay the dragon, you have to find the dragon, I suppose. So usually within a week of deploying Runcast, we will always highlight a minimum of 10, 15 critical issues which were previously unknown. So within the first week, Near East Bank, which is a fairly sizable bank operating in North Cyprus and Turkey, we identified 30 security issues, moved them away from that reactive management towards proactive workflows. Utilised current staff. There's a massive skill gap in Cyprus, and as there is everywhere, and saved a lot of time troubleshooting. And I really like the University of St Andrews, because University of St Andrews is a client that I brought on before I left, and then came back after 2 years, and they're still very happy, which is good. The biggest one for them, 75 to 85% troubleshooting savings, but fundamentally it speaks to the value being in that reduction of monthly issues. And I caught up with the guys at St Andrews last week. Their only infrastructure is VMware, so on-premise VMware, NSX, and vSphere, and bits of Horizon. They are very cloud resistant because they think it's just a fad and they can't be bothered. Their infrastructure's been working for years. They've got one data center running around 100 hosts, and it's a pretty huge organization. Runcast is absolutely critical for them because they've been able to run such a large infrastructure with a team of 3, minimize any outages. They can automate upgrades and very quickly identify misconfigurations. Compliance is increasingly important for universities as they become more and more run like businesses, but they're also, a university doesn't have the luxury of being able to go and hire 50 people the way a bank might, but they're still corporatized and they're expected to run an exceptional service with NPS scores and all of this. So the fact that we give them back that efficiency and time and allow them to focus on innovation is very valuable. And Aberystwyth as well is another customer who's been with us for a while. Again, 80% troubleshooting savings, but their primary use case was compliance and compliance against cyber essentials. So they're now beginning to move from VMware to a mixed hybrid environment, so VMware and bits of Azure and potentially Azure cloud solution. And they'll take us on that journey as well. So they'll use us to monitor both their Azure environments as well as their VMware. And generally how we bring value, major time savings. So if you feel like you're stuck in a break-fix cycle, or if you're struggling to deliver on project work because there's kind of that random risk bubbling up of all of a sudden I need to go and fix this, or you're spending lots of time on support calls, or you feel like you've got unstable infrastructure, then Runcast is a good option if you're struggling with outages. Then definitely worth considering us. Also, there's fairly significant reduced costs, and the key one is continuous compliance and having a constant overview of compliance. And we have lots of random compliance standards here because our go-to-market has been mainly driven by. So we've been coming to VMUGs for ages, and we really love coming to VMUGs because they're fun. But a consequence of that has been that our growth hasn't been the way that a usual company grows, where they tend to be founded in America and then they come to the UK. For some reason, we're absolutely massive in Turkey. I have no idea why. Which is why we've got KVKK as a standard. That's the Turkish version of GDPR. So we work with the Turkish central government, with Turkish Airlines and a few other clients. Yeah, Defence Information Systems Agency. So that's maybe a way for me to hint at some of those air-gapped environments without getting disappeared. But that's used by a lot of other companies as well, because it's obviously gold standard. VMware SCG, we also have lots of clients in Germany. Just to recap on the technology that we covered today. So all the major hyperscalers, various flavors of Kubernetes, Windows and Linux OS. So it's today a platform that isn't just relevant for a small slice of the pie, but has much broader relevance across the enterprise. And it's kind of, I'm not going to get away with two diagrams, but I'm going to try and claim it as a second partial one. So, I mean, it deploys really easily. We're working on a SaaS deployment at the moment, but the easiest way to deploy Ringcast is as an OVA. It's a very lightweight appliance. Generally, Steve, have something ready to throw at me, just in case I'm going to underrepresent or overrepresent something. Generally, deployment and the first scan will take 30 minutes to an hour. So it's very, very easy to deploy there. But even on huge environments, we expect to be able to deliver a full scan and a full report within 2 hours maximum. I assume everyone in the room, apart from probably me, is capable of installing an OVA. So, yeah, it's the call to action is really to get hands-on. I'm going to jump in very quickly to the platform. I'm conscious that I'm the only thing keeping you from free food. So don't save that. This is our public demo environment, so yeah, it's slightly slow because anyone can access it. And if we jump into compliance profiles, let's go for Cyber Essentials. And we're going to cover vSphere, and so yeah, the system's given you a full report of exactly where you pass or fail against a particular standard, and we're linking it directly back to the source data. So there's no more guesswork. You both know, yes, you've failed, or you're not compliant in this case. Failed is a strong word, but then you can tie it directly back to why. And you can, even is a server room door locked, so within the platform you can answer manually and really certify. So it will, you can also, so we have auto remediation available. Jump in, choose which host, and generate a script. And there's either a Power CLI or an Ansible script ready so that you can auto remediate the issue and come into compliance. We don't have that available for everything for two reasons. First of all, we don't have infinite developers, but also we don't want to just go generating auto remediation scripts and people run them willy-nilly and cause downstream issues. So every auto remediation script we've got is vetted. Vulnerabilities as well. So that's looking at all known exploited vulnerabilities. And it will also highlight whether there's an exploit kit available when it loads. And yeah, there we go. So if we want to look at, vSphere, Windows, we're only really interested in exploits. And it will show us, let's filter by impact. And it will show us major issues and exactly where we need to fix. So rather than getting a spreadsheet over saying, hey, you need to patch these servers or you need to fix password policy, just go into notes, fixed XYZ, put whatever notes in there you want, or accepted risk, anything, so that then when other people in the business go and look, they can see this doesn't need to be fixed. This is like this for a reason. We've accepted that risk because the downstream impacts of patching are more substantial. And the last one I wanted to do is a bit of a magic trick. So this is, we've got a very non-compliant lab. Everything's running on 6.5 with the exception of a couple of hosts down there. But it's our compatibility upgrade. So it's a very small part of the value of the product as a whole, but we do have clients who've bought Runecast just for the upgrade simulation, particularly those who've got data centers globally, huge environments, and kind of keeping on top of the HCL is an absolute pain. And this scales infinitely. I mean, if we had hundreds and hundreds of hosts then or servers, then we could easily do it. So right now we've got a mixture, and I want to simulate an upgrade to ESXi version 7 update 3. I'll just hit simulate, and it's going to show me immediately right down to the I/O device RAID controller level where I'm not compatible with the target release. And again, it will link back to the HCL directly. So the magic trick there is you've just seen the salesperson check the VMware HCL against hosts in a second. And we've also got log inspector features and config vault, which is config vault's quite good, very good in fact, because you can track baselines. You can do this both for compliance and for operations. Let's say you've upgraded, you know that things are in a compliant state as of the 13th of July, but 6 months down the line, that's likely not to be the case. There's going to be changes. So you can jump into historical changes, select today, and I want to compare it to a baseline of May the 7th. And it will show me how configurations have changed, what's changed in the config. And this is easy because it's all been disconnected. But what's changed in the config and how to remediate and to roll back. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, please. Thank you.
So that's quite cool about the automated scripts, so they're predefined by Runecast. Is there a feature where a user could, I don't know, for some of the tasks they want to have an automated script to place that host into maintenance, for example? If it's not available by Runecast, is there a feature to allow the user to create and add it against that particular?
So basically, you could add your own remediation scripts. If Runecast hasn't built the script, you could include your own remediation scripts in the platform. Steve?
The answer is no, that's a great idea. And I'll tell you about there are some scripts that you can customize in terms of the values that you can enter into the script.
Yeah.
What you just suggested there, that's a great idea.
Yes.
How does Runecast actually forecasting capacity in terms of knowing when you need to purchase new kit for, say, a vSAN compared to the likes of build solutions like VROps and other area operations? So is it better at forecasting, and how far back can you forecast?
So in terms of capacity planning, capacity planning isn't part of Runecast. So we would, rather than compete against the VROPs or the ARIAs, we're very complementary. So we interrogate the vCenter rather than the hardware. So I suppose there would be some potential downstream indications of performance is slower, there's more failures, but fundamentally we're looking at what's going on at the software layer rather than the hardware. Steve, anything you would add?
Yeah, you said it, complementary with VMware. Absolutely, we've got customers that using Runecast with a proactive approach, identifying issues, compliance, vulnerability assessment, and then VMware is doing that capacity planning, IOPS, and all the performance.
Good stuff. So yeah, what we like to offer at VMUGs. So we have this free trial. So you can click get free trial, and it will take you here to register for an account. It shows you 30% issue visibility, and it lasts for 2 weeks, and it's not the best. It's seeing, okay, you've got 100 critical issues and we're going to show you 30% of them and then contact us. It's not how we want to operate at VMUGs especially. So for anyone who wants to sign up and test Streamcast out from this VMUG or any other VMUG, we'll offer you a full license for a month. So you can sign up for an account and we would just let us know how many licenses you need and we'll give you full access for a 30-day period. That holds both for corporate environments, but also for labs. I mean, if you've got a lab and you want to play around, when it comes to a lab, don't really care. Just have your licenses. It's good. It's good for us guys. For us, if you guys can get hands on in test environments, and yeah, we're at the back there. We have a giveaway. So if you sign up for an account today. Not only will you get the free license for a month, we've also got some speakers to give away, which cost about £100. I don't think they're smart speakers, but they're probably loud for 100 quid. So yeah, and we've also got a card game. We released our own Runecast card game. It's basically like Snap, but with issues. I don't know if you want to. Yeah, so there's one card is an issue, and the other card is the KB article, which would fix the issue. So if you want to start. If you've got kids or if you want to start indoctrinating them, then imagine turning up to a party on a Friday with a new card deck. But no, it's really cool, and it's we've got T-shirts as well. So come and see us, and we're happy to do a deeper dive as well into the platform. And thank you all for your time. Unless there's any questions, any more? Cool. All right.